Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. My name is Kat Huang. I'm a teaching artist here at Art Prof, and I'm joined today by Professor Lieu. Today, we are going to do a linear perspective draw along. You can draw with whatever mediums you like. And if you want to nerd out about art, our prof has everything you need from tutorials to critiques to a community of fellow art nerds. Clara, do you want to describe a little bit about what we're doing and what materials we're using?
Yeah, we are going to be doing linear perspectives. So if you want to draw along with us, the link to the reference photos, which, by the way, are all from Alfred Hitchcock films, are in the video description below, as are all of the art supplies that I will be using today. I'm going to be doing ink wash on Yupo paper, which is very, very smooth. It's almost like drawing on a piece of plastic, but it's actually made for wet media. And as you can see, Kat is already digging into Procreate to start some of these linear perspective sketches. I have to do a little bit of setup work because I have to mix my ink gradients. So while I do that, I'm going to check out Kat's linear perspective strategy because it's quite different than mine. I'm already noticing, like, you drew the vanishing point. I never do that in the beginning. Why did you do that?
Just to wrap my head around the proportions of this piece, I think that, I do have to draw everything going into one line, so, I might as well draw the vanishing point. But I guess my method of drawing perspective is honestly to freehand it. I know there's a method with a push pin and string, but I find that if you're drawing perspective, as long as you get it somewhat right, it's fine. Like, you don't have to be like super down to the centimeter, millimeter exactly correct.
So actually, Kat, in the last perspective draw along, I told people to get a push pin and just stick it in the paper. And after the stream, everybody was like, well, what if I don't want to put a hole in my drawing? And I was like, shoot, okay, let's put a little piece of kneaded eraser on top of the paper. And I'm just going to stick the push pin like that. So that's my little trick for not poking my paper. And then what you can just do is just tie this little piece of string around the push pin like this. So if any of you have not seen this process before, basically you take the pin and then you can pull the string around in any direction, and then you can sketch in the vanishing line. So it's a really nice way to get started, especially if you're making really big drawings. Let me show you guys how I mix the gradients because I have a very particular way of doing it. So what I do is this cup here at the bottom, this is just straight black ink. And I'm going to mix a gradient that's just a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'll take the next cup, get some Higgins ink like this. I'm going to put some, not a huge amount. But now to make it just a little bit lighter, I'm going to put a little bit of water, not a lot. If you put too much, it's going to be too light. Okay, so now that is my second gradient. And now, this is so fun. You take this one and you put a little bit of that mixture, and then take a wild guess. You're going to put more water into this next gradient. And then for the next one, you're going to put a little bit in here. And with every time you move to another gradient, you're adding more and more water so that by the time you get to the final gradient, which is supposed to be the lightest one, it's just a little bit of ink with a lot of water. Isn't that such a cool trick? I just love this, Kat.
Good job.
And I do find it necessary to take a scrap sheet of paper and check the gradients because you think that they work and sometimes they don't. So what I do is I'm going to grab my Sumi brush and I'm just going to test each of these gradients. That one's so light you almost can't see it. And I'll do the second gradient, which is like that. Here is the third gradient, which is a little bit darker. And this gives you the opportunity to go back and fix it, like if some of them are too similar or too light. That's not bad. I sort of feel like the second one could use a little bit more ink. So I'm just going to put a little bit more ink in there. And I think that'll be better. Oh my God, how did you do that so fast? I feel like I blinked and there's a space.
Practice.
Sheesh. So my question for you, Kat, is you know how in Procreate you can make like perfect circles and squares?
Yes.
How come you're not doing that?
I think it's just force of habit. I don't usually use Procreate. I know that to make a straight line, you can do that and then ta-da, it straightens. But I don't normally use Procreate, so I don't normally use that tool. But another thing is that a lot of my drawings, I think the charm is in the wobbliness of the line, a line that isn't so mechanically straight. But other people with very clean styles, such as Jordan, for instance, might actually prefer the very straight mechanical line. It's just that for my style, I prefer the line to be a little wobbly. I think it adds more character to my style. If
Rachel says, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Rachel says, I'm excited to see India ink on Yupo paper. I've seen it for alcohol inks, but not for other media, even though it is noted to work with multiple medias. Yeah, so by the way, speaking of the Yupo paper, there are 3 types. They have Yupo heavy, which is really thick. I mean, it almost feels like Bristol board. And then there's Yupo medium, which I'm going to use for my bigger drawing. And then there's an even thinner one, which is called Yupo translucent. Have you ever used Yupo paper before, Kat?
No, I've never even heard of it before.
It's cool. It's so soft. Like it's way softer because like when I describe it as feeling like plastic, I just think acetate. But when you touch it, it's sort of like if a baby's bum merged with plexiglass.
Cool. Plexiglass baby butt.
But softer, I suppose. And by the way, I just want to say thank you so much to Legion Paper, who did provide the Yupo paper for today's stream. You guys can check out their website, legionpaper.com.
Do you know if Yupo paper works well with dip pen?
It does. I mean, I'm going to show you guys right now, actually.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, you mean for like quill pen?
Yeah, quill pen.
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not into dip pens. They're a little bit too precise for me. Like the bamboo pen, if you guys look at the strokes, it's very uneven. The thing about the bamboo pen is you never really know what you're going to get out of it, which for some people might drive them crazy, but I happen to like it because it feels a little bit scratchier and has sort of an inherent texture to it that you wouldn't get with a dip pen. Mm-hmm. It's really fun. So, Kat, did you put the vanishing lines on another layer?
No, it's all on the same layer. I'm drawing right now how I would draw traditionally. I know that there is a vanishing point or perspective tool on Procreate, but I think it's really important for people to understand exactly how to use and draw perspective. And I feel like that tool is like, yeah, if you can cheat, go ahead. Just use that perspective tool and create like a perfect perspective composition for your artwork. Like, go ahead by all means. But I do think there is merit in learning how to do it traditionally as well, just by hand.
So you're not into doing all the perfecting of the line work in general? Like, do you not ever use rulers for linear perspective?
I think I end up using rulers when I get very frustrated, like something isn't working, so I got to pull out that ruler and figure it out. But a lot of my perspective drawing is just done by hand, by eyeballing the situation. Like, I'll give an example. A lot of the perspective drawing sometimes I don't really make sense. Like fisheye warped perspective. I'm going to give an example here. So maybe there is a corridor with columns, right? And you're looking up at them and they all warp like this, something like that, right? And there's a person standing right here. Like, you can't exactly make this kind of perspective drawing with a ruler. You got to be a little bit imaginative about it, but you still have to follow like the basic principles of linear perspective.
So you don't care about accuracy, just like me?
Right. I mean, I'm not an architect, I'm an illustrator. And sometimes warping the perspective, warping the composition tells more in an image than a mechanically done perspective, measured out perspective drawing.
Well, because I find, Kat, that when people are doing perspective, have you noticed that everybody thinks, oh, because I'm doing perspective, I have to draw this way. I have to draw with a ruler, and it has to be with a mechanical pencil, and it has to be all precise. And I'm like, no, I mean, linear perspective is just part of the package. It's not everything.
I think people start off that way because they're not used to it, or maybe they're still kind of new to the aspect of perspective drawing. But the more you do it, the less you'll need those constraining rules, and you can actually have more fun with it. But it all takes practice.
Soyton Lee says, Kat, you have a good eye. Your foreshortening is really nice for a quick sketch. Well, let's talk about that. How are you able to do that so fast without struggling so much if you're just eyeballing everything?
I think it also comes with practice from observational drawing and trying to draw things in proportion. So when I was drawing these pedestals, obviously I was following these perspective lines, right? But I was also really aware of this shape and how it correlates with this shape, for instance. So obviously this big shape here is more in the front, and these smaller shapes back here are more in the back, but how far are they? So if I look at this one, this kind of ends right at the edge of this big shape. So that's how I was drawing it, is like lining up with this shape. And this square is lining up sort of with this creature thing as well. So not only am I trying to follow the rules of perspective, obviously with these pedestals, but I'm also comparing them to the objects. Like, how thick is this pedestal compared to the thickness of this object? So this is all just observational drawing.
Kat, can you do the rest of the stream for me? So I don't have to teach anything and you can just do it all.
No. You got to pick up the pace too, Clara.
Crap. I'm not off the hook. We have a question from HT Pokepack who says, as a beginner to perspective, should I whip out the ruler at first and then ditch it later, or start right away freehand?
Maybe you can just start with a ruler. I mean, why not? It's a tool that's designed to help you make straight lines. So might as well just use something that helps you. But I think it also comes down to how comfortable you feel. If you think, whatever, I don't need a ruler, let me try to freehand it. I can draw straight lines and I have a basic sense of where the vanishing point is. Then yeah, go ahead and freehand it. I think I would also just recommend that you do that. Find which method works for you, whether it's ruler or freehand, but also get someone else who knows about linear perspective to look at your drawing afterwards for critique, because sometimes you can just get all up in your head and not realize that you're doing stuff wrong in perspective without outside opinions.
See, I'm going to give the opposite advice, Kat, and say that I think it's easier to freehand something and then fix it, rather than trying to nail it the first time through. For me, that feels more efficient. I mean, it depends on the person. But if you guys watch I did do a linear perspective draw along a little ways back where we used these slides from The Shining, that film with Jack Nicholson by Stanley Kubrick. And that was basically how I did it, is I freehanded everything. And then I went back in with the string and the push pin and then made changes. So, you know what I would just say, HT Poke Pack, just try both.
Yep. Ooh, here's something tricky about this composition. Do you see these two big pillars and then these smaller pillars in the back? They don't follow the same perspective line. You measured it. It's right here, right?
Yes!
And this one is like that. So you got to be really careful about these measurements and just maybe a ruler will help you in this case. But other than that, it's more of your discerning eye and your practice that will help you find these nuances.
Kat, you have to explain that now that you pointed it out.
Explain what?
Why those columns don't fit the other columns.
Because they're more situated back in space and to the left. I hope that made sense. Like if I were to take this column and make another column, it would be around here, right? It would follow those big columns. But these smaller columns, they actually sit more in the left, to the left, and more back in space. So they would appear smaller and follow a different perspective line.
Wow, this is just so easy having you on the stream, Kat. I should schedule more streams with you. You're doing all the heavy lifting for me.
I quite like linear perspective, so sure.
Well, most people don't. A lot of people think it's really dry or boring, or they're frustrated with it because they didn't get it explained to them appropriately the first time. And so I get it. I understand why people are frustrated with it. But I don't know. You seem to have such a good grip on it. It's really refreshing.
Yeah, I kind of wonder where this came from. I don't really remember getting official perspective drawing training. I don't remember my roots. I don't remember how I started drawing perspective stuff. I think part of what's fun about it is that it is difficult. And once you get a hang of it, then you're like, wow, I'm a wizard. And then you get to just sort of use that skill as much as you want to everyone's awe, you know?
I want to give a shout out to Meisuko. Thank you so much for the super chat. Meisuko says, I am slightly confused. Where is Magneto? That's a good question. See, here's the deal with my crushes, okay? I can't have them around all the time because you can overdose and it's sort of like extra awesome when you've not looked at Hugh Jackman's Instagram for a week and you see it and you're like, ooh, nice. So I'm just trying to distribute my Magneto and Wolverine time appropriately.
Too much of a good thing is not a good thing.
Slepnir is asking, how do you fix your drawing if you are off and you already inked it? Well, there's things you can do. For example, you can just increase the darkness of the piece. You can hide a couple lines here or there. The other thing you can do, though, I've just discovered this. I cannot believe I didn't know about this, but I was doing this little sketch before the stream just to warm up. And the Yupo paper, it's so smooth. I just figured this out. You can take a razor blade or a utility knife. You can scratch into this. Isn't that cool? It's like scratch board, but with ink wash. I mean, I guess you could do this with clay board that Ampersand made, but I didn't think the Yupo paper would hold up, and it really does. Like, it's not getting damaged at all.
Sweet.
Your spirit guide says, learning perspective was so frustrating, but when everything clicked in doing studies, it became so much fun to draw in perspective. I know, it's like a whole galaxy of images opens up when you learn how to do linear perspective. It's really like a superpower as an artist, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I'm going to try this Yupo medium. And this one, I'm just going to do a really quick sketch because I still don't feel very warmed up. I don't know. You seem like you didn't have a warm-up period.
I think I'm warming up as I'm drawing. I think I'm going really slow right now, but hopefully I'll speed up for the other images that we have.
You kidding? I feel like you knocked that out in a few minutes.
We'll see.
By the way, tell us in the chat, who here has not seen an Alfred Hitchcock film? It's confession time.
Me, I'm not.
Kat, I'm so shocked.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I just find movie watching to be a social thing. I can't do it when I'm by myself. I want to watch a movie with someone else. And that opportunity has not come very often. It has not come often enough for me to watch a Hitchcock film.
Well, see, Kat, I have the opposite issue, okay? There's always people at my house, okay? Because I got my kids and I have my husband. But the thing is, we cannot decide what movie to watch ever. Because my kids have really, really specific requirements for movie watching. Okay, so the movie cannot have any romance in it, which knocks out like 95% of all movies. It has to be funny. And it has to have humor that you don't need any popular cultural history. Like, it can't have any parodies in it because they won't get it. And yeah, you just picture that. But it also has to be something Alex and I either want to see again or haven't seen. It's hard.
Man, I don't know. Does anyone in the chat have suggestions for Clara?
I bet they've seen them all. I mean, we've gone through like every hilarious comedy that's not totally inappropriate for kids.
I know an embarrassing amount of animated films. I know so many animated films, and I don't know how I accumulated this knowledge, but you might like Kirikou and the Sorceress. I know that I've recommended this to you before. You also might like A Cat in Paris. That is a French animation that has beautiful art. Have you seen either of these films?
No, I haven't. I should put that on the list. I think the only Hitchcock film I've watched is Psycho, and there is a twist at the end. So if you have seen Psycho, don't tell people in the chat what the twist is.
Kiki has a suggestion for you. Just stop watching with the kids.
That would fix a lot of issues. But you know what the problem is now, Kat? Okay, so when you have little kids, and parents, you can confirm this with me. When you have little kids, they exhaust you so much during the day, right? But here's the thing. They go to bed early. They go to bed at like 8. And so once they crash, you're all set. You can do whatever you want. The thing is, now my kids are older. They don't go to bed at 8 anymore. They go to bed at like 11. So this like crash time where I can just veg, it doesn't exist anymore. So now I don't know when to get my veg time in.
That's unfortunate.
It's complicated. Like, I have to figure out a whole other existence for vegging out.
Actually, I'm hoping people can give me movie suggestions as well. I'm having this problem similar as you, where my family and I can't decide on a movie to watch. And when I say family, I mean only my mother, actually. So my mother and I can't decide on what to watch. And we've like tried watching some of these recent films, like Hunt for the Wilder People.
I've heard of that.
The Taika Waititi film. And I think there's definitely a language barrier situation going on there, because you have to, first of all, understand who Tupac is. And they're like English slang that's also spoken with a New Zealand accent. So I think a lot of that film was really difficult for my mother to understand, though it was funny to me because I know who Tupac is.
I don't.
Tupac? The rapper?
Well, I know he's a rapper, but that's it.
Oh, well, that's all you really need to know for Hunt for the Wilder People.
Okay. Well, we have this other problem. So not only can we not find a movie to watch together, but then what happens is we take so long to figure out what to watch together that at least one or two of us get so fed up and annoyed that we go, oh, we don't want to watch a movie anymore. And then the whole day is screwed. You know?
Oh, Vivi has a suggestion. Have you seen Ernest and Celestine? I haven't. It's that bear and mouse film, right? It's good. Clara, maybe you should show that to your kids.
I have not seen that.
Oh man, everyone. Okay, sorry, I can't mention everyone's suggestions, but I highly agree with Mayahika to watch all the Ghibli films.
Oh, we've seen them all like 8,000 times.
Oh yeah, same.
Probably recite Spirited Away at this point.
Oh, I love Ghibli films. They have a special place in my heart. I earnestly believe that I'm a better person because I've watched all the Ghibli films.
Oh, this is an interesting comment from Trent, who says, yes, once you understand perspective, you can stop thinking about it so much. Maybe that's what it is, that people just get so fixated on it that they forget about all the other parts that go into a painting. Like right now, actually, Kat, this image of Cary Grant that I'm doing, I'm thinking way more about lighting than I am about perspective. Are you doing any of that?
Actually, yeah, I'm doing a lighting situation right now, and that's basically what I'm thinking about. Like, I could have drawn all the pillars in perspective, but as you can see, I kind of skimped out on like, I didn't really draw this pillar right here. Instead, I'm sort of thinking about the shadows that fall on the pillar, and that's what I've drawn here. If I were to draw the pillar, it would be right here, right? But instead of drawing the lines, instead I use the shadows to portray that pillar being there.
Yeah, so I guess the way I would think about it is if you like break down an image that has linear perspective, like the linear perspective might only be 20% of the piece. The rest of it might actually be way more about other stuff. So maybe that's it. Maybe just people get too fixated on the perspective and it ends up distracting you from really making something that looks like a drawing. Because, oh my God, Kat, if I see another one of those like, let's draw cities where all the architecture looks like a shoebox, it just drives me bats. It's so boring.
Yeah.
Oh, this is getting so messy. I'm trying to embrace it, but it's really hard. Plus, I have this thing where I just like black way too much.
Kenneth asks, are we going to cover all perspective points at one point? I think eventually there will be several streams dedicated to each kind of perspective, like 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point. I think Clara has covered 1 point and 2 point and 3 point very briefly in a previous stream, right? Clara, do you want to expand on Kenneth's question?
Yeah, so far the linear perspective streams we have one stream that covers both 1 point and 2 point linear perspective. This one's just a lecture. There's no draw along aspect. The follow-up is this one where we were drawing from The Shining. And we also have another one that I did way back that's just 1 point perspective. That's a lecture. So we really have not touched 3 point. I've mentioned it here or there because just as a comparison, but yeah, we will eventually get to all of them. It's just, oh man, Kat, these linear perspective slideshows, oh, so many diagrams.
Yeah, I don't envy you.
Oh my God, like the linear perspective, like I think the anatomy slideshows take forever, but the linear perspective ones are like double the work of an anatomy stream, which is saying a lot. Okay, Cary Grant, I'm really sorry. You look terrible. I'm just going to move on. How is that for really confronting my work?
I think it looked fine.
Kat, yours looks so good. Oh! This is why I don't do draw-alongs with you more often. Now I remember.
We'll see when I get to that reference. What's his name again? Cary Grant.
Cary Grant.
We'll see when I get to that Cary Grant image. I feel like it's harder because you have a big portrait there. So you have to worry about perspective and getting the likeness of this man.
I know, but I don't know. I have this like jealousy issue where like I'm on a stream with somebody and then I feel like crappy when I look over at the other person's work.
No. Same. Just don't look.
That's why I don't look at the stuff. Like, because at the end of a draw along with Jordan, I'm always like, yeah, what did you do? Like, I like don't even look at what he's doing the whole time. I don't know. Did you ever do that in art school where you're like, la la la, drawing along, and then you like look over at your friend and you're like, oh, I suck.
And it just ruins your whole day. Yeah.
Yes. That's how I feel right now. You ruined my whole day,
No.
Kat.
Oh my gosh, Clara, I really love your draw along, so don't say that about yourself.
Shoot, these pens are so awkward. But I do like how unpredictable they are.
Sir Arias is asking, would you consider one-point perspective to be boring and basic? Should people strive to incorporate different perspectives? What is your take on that, Clara?
I don't think that there's anything that's inherently boring. I think it's boring if you let it be boring. Mm-hmm. So I think the question for me is more, does one-point perspective suit what it is you're trying to say? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes 2-point is too complicated. Sometimes you want something that's more bold and straightforward. Like this scene that I'm doing right now, which is in the upper right-hand corner. Is this one from Vertigo? Yeah. It's got the green tinted hallway with the woman down there at the end. Like the 1-point perspective, it like leads you to the figure. And if this were 2-point, it might lead you in too many places. So it's not that 1-point is boring or 2-point is, what is the story you're trying to tell? And does the perspective back that up? Is it the right tool for telling that story?
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the same. Is it the right perspective for the story you're trying to tell? You know, I heard this really fun tip, and it seems so basic now that I think of it, but it's such a good piece of advice. But if you ever want anything to be the focus of an image, put that object where the vanishing point would be. So if I wanted to make a person the focus, a giant, a focus of the scene, I would put a person right here. Right here, that's my person. Right where the lines.
It looks like a petroglyph from like Caves of Lascaux. Where did you go to art school?
Okay, here I can redo it. Here. I would put the person right here.
I can't believe you redrew it just because I made fun of you.
That's what happens when you make fun of me. I try my best to fit in.
You're such an overachiever. Oh my god.
But, wow, this piece suddenly became a lot scarier. So yeah, I would put a person right there, right where the vanishing point is, so that all the lines point to this person. Clearly, this person is the object of interest in this piece. So 1-point can be interesting.
I think you stole that from Raphael from School of Athens.
No, I think I stole that from Françoise Mouly, the art director of the New York Times.
Why? Did he say that somewhere? Or?
My teacher said it to me, and he said that came from Françoise Mouly.
Okay.
Okay, I am done with. I have to move on to the other pieces, so I'm gonna move on. What was his name again?
Cary Grant? You don't know who Cary Grant is?
No.
What? Oh my god. You're becoming such a stereotypical young person right now, you know?
What's bad about being young? Gosh, Clara.
Do you really want to ask me that question?
I want to give a shout out to RBDick100 for this super sticker. Thank you very much for that.
I don't know, Kat. I'm kind of regretting buying ink for this. This is really hard to control.
I think people like to see you do that because it is hard to control. Usually people think, oh, perspective drawings, I have to choose a tool that can make the straightest line possible, such as Procreate, right? But with ink, I think you can get a lot of, how do you say this? Flavor with the
Flavor?
line. Yeah, because it's just like not a very straight line. It's a lot more organic. So it'd be interesting to see this applied to a perspective drawing.
That's true. I mean, I do like not doing the exact same thing that everybody else is doing on YouTube with linear perspective, which is boxes. But it's hard. I guess that's why a lot of people don't do it. Maria Kelson is asking, what is WIP, works in progress, and Patreon goal? So the graph that you guys are seeing down there at the bottom, Patreon is what we use so that people can donate to Art Prof, so we can make sure that we have all the operating expenses that we need because they're ongoing. They never disappear. We always have staff to pay and materials to buy to maintain our content. And our Patreon goal is a goal we have set to make sure that we can break even and stay alive for a while. Because I don't think a lot of people realize how precarious our position is. Because we're still here, but we need the help. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go down to the video description below, and we do have options for people to make a one-time donation, or you can also make a monthly donation as well. So that way we make sure we have what we need to stay up and running, because Kat, I think people think that this is really cheap and easy, but it's not.
It's not. It's not.
I have all these expectations. Kat, I shouldn't have done that before the stream. That was a really bad move.
Expectations of what?
For myself.
Oh, sorry.
Well, because I was like, oh, I'm going to do Yupo paper, and I have all these creepy Alfred Hitchcock stills, and look at the drama and the lighting, and I was like getting all excited, and now I'm getting a little stage fright.
Oh, you're doing amazing, Clara.
I know where that's coming from.
Just can't win here, Clara. I don't know what you want me to say.
No, you can't win. I'll be whining about my work no matter what. I try not to, but it's hard. All right, well, I have the lady. She looks like a snowman. Also, I want to give a shout out to Raw Nook. Thank you so much for the super sticker. All of these super chats and stickers, and we have another one here from Fab Geek. Thank you so much. This all adds up. It's really helpful when we get these donations during the live stream. So everybody, thank you so much. Maya Hika says, hi, Kat. I'm really scared to ink after my sketch. Any tips?
I would actually try inking over a light box or some sort of bright surface. If not ink, then draw it again. So you have your sketch, right? Maybe go to a window and then put another piece of paper on it and then make a really quick sketch on top of it. And then ink that second one. Does that make sense? So you preserve the first sketch and then you actually ink the second sketch that has more of the bare bones lines that you can use to ink in. But if you have a light box, then just put the sketch on top of the light box, put another piece of paper on it, and just like ink straight from there. I've seen people do that as well. But I feel like the more you do it, the more you're just like, whatever, I'm going to go ink this sketch now. It's just with practice, you get more confident in your medium. So yeah, you can just try at first with the light box or doing another sketch and inking those. And then eventually you'll get used to just inking right onto your sketch. Hope that helps you.
I mean, do you recommend people who are inking for like comics and illustration, do you think they should get a light box, or do you think that's like a crutch?
I would actually recommend getting a light box, but I don't have a light box. I feel like it will save you a lot of time, but I just haven't taken that step yet for myself.
What, you just skipped over it?
Yeah. There's something really off about my proportions. Oh. Because, like, if you look at this, I feel like this ceiling, for me, ceiling to head ratio is way bigger than the ceiling to head ratio in the reference photo. So I'm going to fix that.
I mean, I never use a light box. I feel like the only time I ever use it is when I'm doing monotypes.
I haven't had to use a light box too much. I don't know why. I feel like it would be a really useful tool to have. I feel like if I have it, I will use it. But since I don't have it, I don't even think about it.
Except when you're recommending it to other people, right?
Whoa, whoops.
Ayane says, when I draw traditionally, I pretty much have to ink it because it looks excellent digitally and is easy to edit. My traditionally inked drawings are indistinguishable from my digitally inked ones. Oh, so interesting to hear. Everybody has such a different take on how they mix or don't mix the traditional and the digital.
Mm-hmm. Everyone has their special formula.
I love this, Kat. Your spirit guide says, encouragement, emotional support. You can do it, Professor. See? I just need to hear that every now and then. Because you think, oh, after all these years of experience, you know, it's not the case, though. I think that everybody has doubt as an artist, and experience does not make it better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it does, but there are other times where nothing can help.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the best things you can do as an artist is live with doubt. Just, you learn to live with it, and you learn how to not let it cripple you.
That sounds deep.
I can never win with you, Clara.
No, you can't. But you know my secret about how I'm only nice to people I don't like. Well, no, not nice. I take that back. Polite. I'm only polite to people I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So if I compliment you on your sweater, that's not good.
What the heck? Okay.
I have done that many times in the faculty lounge.
Nice sweater.
That color looks so good on you. Shell Rays is asking, Kat, how many layers are you working on?
Just one for the lines, but when I start to shade stuff, I might as well start shading now. I'll add another layer, and if it looks good, I'll merge it all together. So eventually I'll get something like this. It's all merged together, actually, but these were once separate layers. You know, normally you would preserve separate layers, but since I'm working on Procreate and I already have so many layers for my other reference photos, I'm just merging them all because these are just studies. They don't matter that much.
The question is, Kat, what if Jordan was here? Would you be doing that right now?
Yeah, I'd still do that. Everyone has their own way of working. I won't let Jordan hinder me.
You know, I just feel like Jordan is like the layer police. He's always like, Clara, are you in the right layer? I'm like, no. I'm never on the right layer. Do you know how many times I've drawn on the reference photo layer? Like, I never remember to get another layer in. It's just the worst. So bad at it.
I feel bad for Jordan for having to witness you do that.
Oh, it's so painful, Kat. He's so patient. John Murph is asking, what sort of drawing utensil are you using? Do you find that utensil more effective than those metal nib calligraphy pens? Well, if you guys don't know what this is, This is called a bamboo reed pen, and you can get them in all different sizes. This is a really big one, but I also have this one, which is a little bit smaller, and it has two ends. Honestly, to me, the ends are the same, and I don't feel like there's a huge difference in terms of the mark from a big pen to a little one. I think it's more about the grip, but it's not that it's more effective. It's just, again, it fits the way I draw better. Like those calligraphy nib pens that you use for comics, Kat, I can use those if I have to, but I don't like it. It's like you have to draw in such a different way that I just find it very distracting. So it's a fit issue. It's not, oh, is that pen good? It's just like, oh, is that pen going to give me the results that I want? And in that case, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you're like obsessed with your quill pen.
Yeah, sometimes I think to myself if that is actually something hindering me, because I do like to draw more spontaneously. I do like it, but I've used a quill pen for so long that it's kind of like a crutch. Like I have to make comics and quill pen only is my mindset now. And I do want to branch out of that eventually after I finish my big quill pen project currently.
And that might be a little while.
Yeah, that might be a while.
Don't you think?
But, I think it's good to be aware of when things are becoming a crutch for you and when you can start to branch out and grow and try new things, because it honestly never ends. Like it can be like 50 years down the line and it can be like, oh, I suddenly want to try acrylic painting or something like that. Like, why not? Just go for it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've never been one of those people who could just do one media. These people who are like masterful at one very particular way of working with a specific media. Like I can't do that. I get bored.
Makes sense, yeah.
I mean, the drawback is that I will never have the mastery that somebody who only does lithography is going to have.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. People function differently.
Yeah, I'm definitely like a jack of all trades type of person.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm really married to quill pen. It's just that I'm married to the story. The story I'm trying to tell would best be told through quill pen currently. So might as well just use quill pen.
Well, I think what we're saying is that so many of these decisions, it's not what's better, but what's a good fit. Is this going to give me the visual results? And I guess that's why I like the flexibility of different media, because it's like sometimes a story I want to tell doesn't look good in ink wash. Sometimes it has to be in something else. Ayane says, "You're so fast, Kat. How did you get so fast?"
Thank you, Ayane. Practice. And I think
but like how much, like
it never ends. It's just that eventually you start becoming faster and you don't even realize it. You're always in the mindset of like, I can still be faster. I can still be better. But it never ends. But eventually, I think you've reached a good point when you're having fun with it. Like you don't even have to think about it, and then you're starting to see an image form. But it takes work to get there.
Do you think it's about just always demanding more? Like never being satisfied?
Yeah, but you also have to balance it with like recognizing that you did do a lot, that you are accomplished, that you are accomplishing a lot.
Right. Yeah, like W.C. Lee Art says, I find speed comes in time from doing it so often. Sometimes it's really that boring. Being an artist is do it again and again and again. I mean, it's so similar to music. I mean, Kat, how many hours a day did your mom make you practice? Wasn't it like 3 hours a day?
It was a lot, and I don't like to think about it.
I don't know how your mom managed you to do that. I can't even get my kids to practice for like a half an hour.
Honestly, I do have to like applaud my mom in this case, because it must be, I don't think it would be pleasant to sit next to a 7-year-old who is like crying about practicing piano myself either, but yet she still did it for me. And I'm really grateful for that, because I think it also taught me discipline. Like, you really have to apply yourself in a certain medium in order to get good at it. And piano was how I learned that.
I mean, I feel the same way. And the thing is, like, I was okay playing oboe, but it's like I wasn't even close to these people who are like, yes, I practice 5 hours a day. I'm like, my head explodes just thinking about that concept. I think the longest I ever got myself to practice for a period of time, I think I practiced 2 hours a day. But that was it. Like, that was my limit. Like, I could not even get close to 3 hours.
But I think actually for music, the more you do it, the more you start to just like get in a zone. You get into the zone when practicing, and you're like, this is still not it. I can still do it better. I can still do it better, still do it better. So, and then eventually like 3 hours pass, and you don't quite realize when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that happened to me. All right, so I don't know about you, but I'm in the stage where just like everything is just going in my painting right now.
Sometimes you just need to find the groove, and maybe you just don't feel the groove just yet, but it looks great so far, Clara.
I mean, I feel like I'm painting a really worn down building. It looks all like psychedelic. It's hard because part of me just wants to like do the lighting and just forget about perspective. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think I'm kind of doing that myself right now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because I'm doing the perspective while I'm doing the shading.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't feel like I can just do the perspective. I feel like that would mess with me too much.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good comment from W.C. Lee, who says, after a while, shortcuts are learned and increase the speed on which details can be implied without actually having any details. That's a great point. I think a lot of what we may think about as being speed is actually efficiency. So instead of putting down 50 strokes, maybe you can just put down 30. And that speeds things up as well. Because I know that before I gained confidence in my handling of materials, I always felt like I had to explain things a lot in my work. I sort of feel like as a teacher, I do that. Like if I'm worried students don't, I just say it again. You know, you're just like, they didn't get it. I'll just say it again.
Okay, after this, I'm going to move on real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this guy I can never remember the name of.
Really, Kat? Really?
Kent Cole.
Oh my gosh.
Wait,
okay, have you ever seen a Marilyn Monroe movie?
Actually, no. That's such like, I don't know. That's such, how do I say this? Americana? I feel like I'm not really exposed to that much.
Well, I will say it's not typical movie watching fare for your average person nowadays, but it is worth a watch. George is asking, Clara, are you working on Yupo paper? Yes, I am. So if you don't know what Yupo paper is, this is Yupo heavy. The one I'm using is Yupo medium, and there's also Yupo translucent. And it's very slippery, but not as slippery as like acetate. It definitely has a little bit less of a gloss. I feel like I just want to wash all over this whole thing. Maybe I should just do that. Maybe I should. Yeah, let's just do it. Let's just make a horrible mess. Thanks, Kat.
You're welcome.
Actually, I'm doing it with the rag. That's sort of like really fun.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next image. I'm done with this one.
Oh, this is much better, Kat. I'm glad you told me to do that.
Well, you said it yourself, and all I said was like, yes.
Yeah, but it's like you need somebody there to do that sometimes, you know? It's like, even though you know you should, it's like very validating to hear somebody else tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I was in art school, I did that a lot, where I would know I had to do something, but I would like ask the professor anyway because I wanted them to tell me to do it. Like it was like too hard to just do it myself for some reason.
I've caught myself doing that a lot too. Like I keep in contact with a lot of my artist friends, and when I'm about to do a certain move in a piece, like should I redraw this background? I know I have to do it. I just ask my friends anyways, and they're like, yes, Kat, please redraw the background. Yes, somehow that makes me do it.
Tell us in the chat, do you guys feel the need to do that when you like you sort of like know, but you don't? Maybe it's like we need permission. I don't know. Is it permission or validation? Maybe it's both. It's really hard to say.
I'm sure there's some psychological study about it somewhere.
Oh, I like this way more, Kat. You know why? Because now you can see that the window is the brightest light source. But I do feel perspective-wise, I just am drawing a box. Like this is pretty much as boxy as you can get. It's really not very good.
Yeah, I'm actually drawing it right now, and I'm just like, there are so many little ridges that make it interesting that it's hard to draw right now as a basic drawing sketch.
I know, but it's such a cool scene. I mean, I've never seen this one, Vertigo, but it looks amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what that was like when those Hitchcock movies came out, because it's like, that's what you miss out on when you watch an old movie is like, you don't know like what it was like when that movie came out. All right, this is taking me so much longer, but you know what? I'm having more fun now.
Actually, out of all the reference images, I think this one honestly is the most frustrating. I won't call it boring, but it is the most frustrating out of all of them.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's literally just a box. Like, look at all these lines. They all follow perspective, the vanishing point. But if you look at, say, this one, which is also one point, there are organic shapes in it that make it more interesting, in my opinion, like statues and pieces of art and figures. Whereas the other one, it only has the image of a lady. She's the only one that doesn't follow perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and also I feel like a lot of the perspective is sort of like hidden in the tone and the lighting.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to just ditch the line drawing. I'm going to just go all tone. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
Is that just because of the nature of the image or because you're tired of line?
I think it's the nature of the image. I feel like if I went line for this piece, it would just become too much of a study and it would be kind of boring for me to do that. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit.
Taking a risk. Kenneth says, it's like you should do that, but you're unsure and need some encouragement to push it. Yeah, it's like you just need that one little nudge. And that's why I really miss these art school-y sessions. It's like, if it weren't for these draw-alongs, I don't know that I would work with people at the same time. I don't know, would you?
No, that's true. I don't normally work with anyone now with the pandemic and social distancing and everything. So these draw-alongs are actually the only opportunity I get to work with other people and get that instant feedback. Like, should I make this a wash painting or whatever? I can get that instant feedback right now.
I mean, for those of you who don't know, sometimes we do try to have these staff calls where we're just working, but we haven't had time to do one in like a really long time. Usually Jordan organizes it.
Yeah, it's hard to coordinate with people. It's hard to work with
so
people.
Hard. I know.
Yeah. So we have not had a staff draw along in a long time. It's just different people's schedules.
Well, that's why art school was so easy, because you could just go to the studio and there just would always be a few people there. Like, you never had to like plan it or anything. It's
Right.
like so much work to see people now, you know? Well, that is if you are seeing people. Obviously, a lot of people are not seeing each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
Although that seems to be changing very incrementally. Slowly. I just want to get this woman in. She's so like, oh, I just love the scene. Isn't it cool?
Yes.
Like, isn't that cool? You can just add a person and whoa, it doesn't look so boxy anymore.
Your spirit guide says it's always good to have a support system for art decisions, e.g. the Art Prof Discord.
Yep. I don't know. Were you ever part of an online art community before, Kat?
No, not really. When I was younger, I used to have a DeviantArt and stuff like that, but I didn't feel like I was part of a community. Like, I didn't feel like I had much of a say in anything. I was just doing my own art, doing my own thing. And it wasn't honestly until art school did I discover an arts community.
Yeah.
So kind of wish that Discord and Art Prof existed back then.
Well, it's tricky because stuff is changing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was going back and fixing some old thumbnails, and I'm like, oh, I got to join our Facebook group from all of our streams and YouTube descriptions. I feel like I could work on this one for a really long time. Are you feeling that way?
Yeah, I feel like I'd also work on this for a while, but I do want to try to get to that fourth image. Wait, hold on a second. The fourth image has a checkerboard floor. I don't really know if I want to draw that. It's this one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I picked that one on purpose. It's because of the checkerboard floor.
This is going to take so much time. Okay, whatever.
No, don't do it. You don't have enough time.
We'll see. I
think you would need like a whole stream to do that one. Like, that's just so much, you know?
I mean, maybe we could do a quick sketch or something. I do want to try to get to it.
So yeah, I didn't use my string thing at all. I guess if you guys want to see the string demo, you're going to have to watch the other draw along, because I actually did use it a lot in that one. But I guess not. I don't know. I just feel like I don't need it today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this brush is really hard to control. Like, that's where you really feel like you're just, ugh. I guess that's why I sort of bag the perspective, because you're just like, ugh, is any of that going to help me when there's this like really atmospheric, moody look, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm having more fun drawing with the rag than I am drawing with the brush. Isn't that weird?
There's joy to be had in different mediums, whether that be a rag or a pen.
Well, I'm like that though. Like when I paint, I like painting with a rag more than with a brush sometimes. And ultimately, really, the most important thing is that you're making a space. And how you make a space can be done all kinds of different ways. It doesn't have to be done one way only.
Mm-hmm.
Octasia says, I like how there's a digital and an analog demonstration going on side by side in real time. I think it's super fun because I think it encourages more that there isn't a correct way to draw things, because I love seeing everybody's different take on things. It's way more fun.
Yeah, agreed. Also, I think it's like really hard to find a draw along with analog in general. So
I don't know. Maybe you haven't been watching much of YouTube, Kat.
No, really? No, draw along though, not necessarily just a tutorial.
Oh, you mean like live?
Yeah, like live.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's more now, I think, than there used to be, but I suspect that maybe one of the reasons people don't do it is because you have to draw pretty fast for it to be worth watching. Like if you draw really slow, you can't have like a 10-hour stream, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why so many people do those speed videos, because it's like, it's just excruciating to watch it live. But
yeah, I find a lot of my traditional work is a lot slower. So I don't know how I'm going to do it for a traditional live draw along, which will probably happen soon.
Yeah, we're going to get Kat all trained to do the traditional media. That takes a little while. That's again where I think we make it look easy, but it's not. It's a lot of work. It's hard, and it's like one of those things, like if you do it well, nobody notices, but then if it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah.
So don't be bad, Kat. No pressure.
Ooh, I like how yours is coming out, Clara. I think it
almost still feels really mushy.
It feels more hopeful.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like it's brighter than the reference photo is. I think that might be it.
Well, maybe we got to get this window pane in then.
Maybe I got to get like darker.
Do like these like Venetian blinds that are being hinted at in that distance. We're sort of holding off on that detail, but sort of like showing that texture of the blinds. It's so funny. I feel like nobody's ever told me that I made an image that looked hopeful.
It looks, no, I'm not saying it is hopeful. I'm saying it looks more hopeful.
Oh, more hopeful. Okay, I see. It's just a minor improvement. And I also have this thing. Okay, tell me if you have this too. I just am like addicted to black ink. Like it makes me not want to do any of the gradients. Like I just want to do black.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you're talking to a person who uses black ink all the time.
It's so satisfying.
Yes, it is.
And I mean, I like gradients. I know they're important, but just the black. It's so intense. Love it. Bean says, I started out just sketching Professor Liu's hands. Now I accidentally did tiny perspective sketches to complete the background. Oh my gosh, I really want to see that. You're going to have to put that in the Discord. I'm so excited. Bash the Stampede says, Clara, maybe the rag is fun because it reminds you of using the side of chalk, pastel, or charcoal. At least that's how I feel about rags. Yeah, it's similar in that it's a much broader tool than the bamboo pen. I mean, I think if I had time, I probably would just really slow down and build up the line work. But for me, this image is not very good if it doesn't have a good sense of atmosphere, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Maybe
And I am picking and choosing. Like, I'm not drawing every line. I'm just picking the ones that I want to draw.
I'm greedy, so I want to get the 4th image done as well. So I'm going to start
What?
it now. Yeah.
You're insane.
I'm going to try it.
What, are you just going to go on like hyper speed? Are we going to set you to high, like a mixer?
Yeah, don't talk to me right now. Focus.
Oh my God, you're insane. You guys, is Kat going to do it? We'll have to just see and find out. I mean, you are crazy fast. You know that. That is not, I don't know. I don't see a lot of people who work at the speed that you do.
Really? Okay. I just feel like I get faster as I keep drawing. I think it's kind of noticeable in my other draw-alongs too. I start off pretty slow and then I speed up eventually.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people do that, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely started out like really slow. And then you just kind of go, oh, screw it, whatever.
Yes.
I mean, that's basically what I did with the rag, where in the beginning I was like, I'm going to do my vanishing lines. And then I'm like, oh, whatever. I don't think I would be a good architect. You can't just say whatever.
Yeah.
Although, I was reading an article today about Frank Gehry. They were talking about some of the projects he's been working on. If you don't know who Frank Gehry is, you've probably seen his architecture. He did the Bilbao Museum, the Guggenheim, and the Walt Disney Concert Hall. He's superstar architect. And I don't know. I just wonder, like, does he just take like a sheet of Mylar and like crumple it and say, okay, build it? You know, like that's just sort of how I think of his process.
That's pretty funny.
Well, some of his buildings really do look like crumpled pieces of paper. They're
That's
amazing.
True.
But I just think about that and I'm like, oh, that must be a power trip. Because at that stage, it's like, who are you trying to impress? You know, it's like he's done it all. He doesn't need to show off. And well, I don't know. I guess some people may need to, but the article seemed like he was digging into other areas as well, like some work that was more about social justice and stuff like that.
This checkerboard floor, that's all I have to say.
I cannot believe you. Your spirit guide says, would love to see more draw-alongs with ink wash. Your work in ink wash looks so loose, atmospheric, and ethereal, yet reads so concretely beautiful. Thank you. That is really nice to hear. Amanda says, it's tough trying to draw and watch the chat at the same time. Don't know how Kat and Professor Lieu are doing it. My drawing is a mess. You know what? It actually really helps to have a second person on the stream, because if I'm spaced out, I can just make Kat explain everything.
Yeah, I mean, it really helps to have Clara Lieu on a stream.
What? Sorry,
Sorry?
You went out for a second. What did you say?
Well, it helps to have you on the stream because I think you're the most on top of it and have the most experience handling the chat and drawing at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it does get easier once you've done it. What? 700 times or whatever, however much time we've been doing these. But also, I think, Kat, part of it is just getting over the perfectionism thing. Because when I started Art Prof, I was like, every video I make is going to be perfect. Everything is going to be just so, and we're not going to have any filler words, and I have to edit out every single and now I'm like, whatever. There's just certain things you just sort of give up on because you realize it's fruitless to be such a perfectionist. It actually can hold you back a lot.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also a mindset I've learned to adapt for my comic work. I keep thinking, oh, I have to plan the perfect thumbnail, I have to plan the perfect thing, and then I will start on the final work. But by the time I've planned everything, it's taken so long.
Yeah.
So you might as well just like dive in.
So have you found that you're not doing that as much anymore? Like, are you taking less time to do thumbnails?
No, I still take a long time for thumbnails. I mean, that's never going to change. But I think I've learned to be a little bit more courageous on starting different projects. Like, if I think too hard about how much work it's going to take, I'm never going to do it.
Or you'll get paralyzed and then quit. That's another
Thanks
option.
for the vote of confidence.
You're welcome. I know that just gave you the boost you were looking for.
Thank you.
I'm a pessimist. You know this about me.
Yes. This checkerboard floor, man, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Well, I mean, who decided to do that at the very last minute?
Let me see if I can fix it. There's too few of them. Too many of them in the reference photo. I'm going to eyeball
Rachel, Vermont Studio says, it's really great to see amazing people, casual and fun, and to know that you don't have to be perfect every step of the way. Yeah, it's not only, it holds us back, but I think it holds you guys back. I mean, if we're perfect all the time, then people start saying, well, how come I'm not perfect all the time? It's like, well, because we edited out everything. Right?
Yeah.
All right. I do not know if this perspective is correct, but oh. I thought about linear perspective. I thought about it. Thinking.
You would never let your students get away with that excuse.
I know. But you know what, Kat? It's a lot easier to give advice than to take it.
Yes, this is true as well.
I catch myself doing that all the time, where like 1 minute in the Discord, I'm like telling somebody blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, nah, in the middle of the stream. Really want to get this cast shadow. Isn't this a really cool cast shadow on the left?
Yeah.
Oh, but I made it too wet. Might not be able to blend it in the way I wanted to. Maybe I'll work on it more after the stream is over, because I feel like there's so many nuances that I would love to add. I don't know. I say that after every stream, though.
Trying to get this done as fast as I can.
JD Corrigan says, Clara will soon look up and Kat will be on another picture unknown to Clara with that speed. Exactly. It's like I just turn my head and there's checkerboards there all of a sudden.
It's not, it's like, look at that. It's not, those are not.
You did what? Ayana is asking, what are both of your views on speed paint videos?
They're entertaining to watch, almost on like an ASMR level, but I feel like some of them are actually pretty good to see how artists figure out composition, lay down shadows and light, and alter it as they keep working. But I would also warn against thinking that that speed is how fast you should be working at, because they're not showing you exactly how many hours pass when they're doing those speed paints. What are your thoughts on them, Clara?
I just think that it's fine for entertainment purposes. Like they're fun, they're satisfying to watch. But I think as far as like really learning the technique, I don't think it is very accurate, because like when you watch those speed paints, you don't get any of the nuances of how somebody holds their brush if they because everything gets evened out because it's sped up so quickly. And so I don't think they're great for learning. I mean, they're satisfying, but
they're like ASMR.
I think there's a limit.
The proportions of this are so off. Jeez.
Mahika wants to know, Kat, how many hours do you work on a full piece?
What kind of piece? When it comes to a comic page, not including thumbnailing and stuff, it might take me like a full day to do one page, which is pretty slow actually, but it depends on how complicated that page is as well. I've caught myself completing a page in one day. I've also caught myself completing a page in 3 days on a more extreme case.
We would love for all of you to join Kat and I in the Art Prof Discord. We will be hanging out in the Art Alongs channel. The Discord invite link is in the video description below. Subscribe to the Art Prof YouTube channel so you can continue to grow and develop as an artist. And a big thank you to our top Patreon supporters for giving us the resources that we need to make sure that Art Prof is always 100% free and accessible to everybody. We literally would not be here without all of you. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.